Welcome back. Futures this morning are mixed, although continuing to see gains. The Dow Industrial's up another 100 right now. Now, the Nasdaq is pulling back, but it reached a record high on Friday, pulling back from an all-time high now at 24,101 on the Nasdaq. Nvidia this morning is trading this way. Take a look. China is accusing Nvidia of violating anti-monopoly laws tied to its acquisition of networking gear maker Mellanox back in 2020. Regulators saying that the probe is ongoing. The stock this morning is down 2.5%. The reason that the Nasdaq is pulling back from record highs reached on Friday. Interest rates this morning look like this, with the Federal Reserve kicking off its two-day policy meeting tomorrow morning. The central bank widely expected to cut interest rates finally by 1/4 point. That would be the first cut in 9 months. All the focus is on Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell's commentary on inflation against a shaky labor market, rather. Joining me now is former Chrysler and Home Depot Chairman and CEO. He is the founder and CEO of Accelerate, LLC. Bob Nardelli back with us. Bob, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Big week this week. What are your expectations for the Fed, and what kind of an impact will we see, do you think, if we get a 1/4 point? Because it's largely priced into the market at this point, right?
Yeah, I believe that's correct, Maria. I mean, if you think about where we are relative to the Fed and inflation rate, let's not lose sight of where we were with the prior administration at 9.2%, and now we're looking at a CPI of about 2.9%. So hats off and appreciation to President Trump and what this administration has us heading in that direction. Point number one. Point number two, we've seen the angst between the Fed chairman and the president of the United States. So I'm anticipating probably a 1/4 point, could be greater than that from the math of it. But I think what we'll see is a 1/4 now. We'll probably see October, no meeting in November, and then December. Really depends upon the geopolitical position. You made a comment about unemployment. I think that's going to be a watchful eye put on that for what kind of decisions are made. Again, if you think about inflation, we're looking at a 2.9 right now, a core of 3.1. Speculation is the core could go up. Why? Because it's the thing we talk about all the time, Maria, housing and shelter. We talk about energy. We talk about tariffs. And so those are the things that we must stay focused on in this administration, particularly as we head into the midterm. We got to make sure housing becomes more affordable and the availability of that. Same with energy. If you think about where we are on energy, I'm still looking for, the gas price to come down here in Atlanta. It's still about $3.99. So again, with all we're doing, let's also remember why maybe prices haven't fallen so much. Yep. 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, travel is at its height. Energy costs, utility costs are high, particularly during the summer season. We know utilities raise rates, but now they're being inundated with demand for data centers.
So, Bob, one of my major sources at the Federal Reserve told me the other day that she's got 2 rate cuts penciled in. It could ultimately be 3. But what's your sense about what this means in terms of a string of rate cuts? I mean, initially, when we first learned that Jay Powell was finally leaning toward cutting rates, it seemed like he was very clear that this would not be a string of rate cuts. However, my source tells me she's got 2 rate cuts penciled in already, and it could be 3. What are you betting on?
Yeah. Well, I think if you look at, you mentioned it earlier, Maria, if you look at the Dow set a new record last week, right at 46,000, and it's up 100 points again this morning. So the market has some of this already baked in, I think, whether it's 1, 2, I don't know about 3, to be honest with you, probably would be appropriate. I think, again, the watchful eye has to be on unemployment, what's happening there, and a continuation on the core CPI to see what's happening relative to shelter and utilities. Those are some of the average consumer out there is certainly worried about groceries, about utilities, and fuel. Those are the things that will drive it, Maria, in my opinion.
Well, I would say, Liz Peek, jump in here. I'm expecting at least 2 rate cuts, at least 50 basis points overall, could be more. But this is not without drama, right, Liz? You've got President Trump's choice for Fed Governor Stephen Moran, expected to be confirmed by the Senate today, joining the board in time for this pivotal meeting tomorrow. He says he's going to take an unpaid leave from that role, chairing the White House Council of Economic Advisors while keeping the position. And the Trump administration is still renewing its request to a federal appeals court to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook potentially blocking her from joining tomorrow's meeting. Cook is pushing back. She's asking the court to reject the bid, Liz.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see actually who ends up voting on these rate changes, Maria. I don't think there's, as Mr. Nardelli suggested, there's no question that they're going to cut rates by 25 basis points. If they didn't, that would just send the market to an absolute free fall. But I think 50 is also a possibility, and clearly Moran's going to be one of the voices for that. But he's not the only one. I think Chris Waller also could be advocating for a bigger cut. So it's not just the newest additions to the board that we're going to be watching.
And maybe Mickey Bowman as well, by the way, also looking for a rate cut. Bob, real quick on the China talks, U.S. officials in Madrid meeting with China once again on trade. How important is that to you?
It's very, very important, Maria. Again, I'm continuing to see the price inflation from my supply chain on all the companies I'm dealing with. The tariffs continue. In one particular case, when the administration put a 50% tariff cost on aluminum, imported aluminum, this company's spending $45 million a month because of that tariff on aluminum. So again, it's critically important that we get tariffs, the trade right on a geopolitical basis, and we take advantage of the disadvantage we've had over the prior administration. So I'm in favor of fair and just tariffs, but we got to make sure that it's not impacting companies that are investing. This particular company is investing $4 billion to build a new factory here. So there ought to be some consideration, like there was with Microsoft and Apple, for maybe relieving some of those tariffs. We got to be very sensitive.
Of course. Bob, great to see you. Thank you so much. Bob Nardelli joining us this morning. Coming up, House Republicans.